This is the last image that Froon and Kremers uploaded to their personal page, before disaster struck during their trip from the Netherlands to Panama in 2014. According to the plan, Froon and Kremers were set for a 6-week journey, combining nature, exploration, and volunteer work. However, on April 1st, 2014, when a third of their journey had passed, a nightmare unexpectedly struck. When the homestay owner, where the two young women were staying, noticed they hadn't returned from their hike near Baru volcano, not far from Bukai. In other words, Froon and Kremers had gone missing. A meaningful graduation gift, especially for students, is a type of travel that is quite popular, combining nature exploration with volunteer work. This form helps young people gain various experiences while enhancing empathy for different lives and cultures. The two energetic, lively young girls from Amersfoort, Netherlands, Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, planned a perfect, meaningful 6-week journey to Panama, home to the famous 82-kilometers canal connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Lisanne Froon was born on September 24, 1991, and lived with her parents and brother. She was a volleyball player with a remarkable height of 1.84 meters and a graduate in applied psychology. She was quite introverted, kind, close to her family, and had a special love for music. Kris Kremers was born on August 9, 1992. Grew up in a family of 5, including her parents, brother, and younger brother. She was an outgoing, lively girl who was studying art education at Ada University, Deventer, Netherlands. Froon had never traveled beyond Germany, whereas Kremers had fallen in love with South America after a family trip to Peru. Both were close friends who grew up in the same neighborhood. In university, they also worked part-time at a cafe together. Therefore, a few weeks before their trip, Froon moved in early with Kremers at her dorm. To make the trip more meaningful, the kind-hearted girls used their savings to buy toys for students at a local school where they would be volunteering. Additionally, they spent much of their day learning Spanish, the official language of Panama, in the hope of doing something meaningful for the local community, especially the children. Above all, Kremers believed that a smooth trip with exciting experiences would be a wonderful graduation gift for her beloved friend Froon. On March 15, 2014, the girls arrived at Amsterdam airport, kissed their families goodbye, and eagerly prepared for the long-awaited trip. Their first stop was Houston, Texas, followed by San Costa Rica, where they spent the night with a local family before heading to Panama. On March 17, 2014, Froon and Kremers finally set foot in beautiful Panama, eagerly awaiting the many exciting experiences that the country had to offer. In the first 2 weeks of their trip, they stayed in Barcas del Toro, Barcas Town, located on the southern tip of island Caribbean, known as the Green Paradise. Here, they enjoyed local food, drinks, dancing, snorkeling, and beach time. These joyful moments were captured in photos they posted on their social media pages. Alongside their leisure activities, they also regularly attended a local school named Spanish by the Sea to improve their Spanish skills for their upcoming volunteer work in Bukai. 2 fun weeks in Barcas quickly passed. On March 29, 2014, Froon and Kremers moved to the mountain town of Bukai, staying at a wooden homestay rich in local culture. According to their original plan, they were to stay in Bukai for about a month to teach dance, crafts, and music to children at a local school, starting on April 1st. Unfortunately, due to a misunderstanding, when Froon and Kremers arrived, the school informed them that they were not yet ready to welcome volunteers. The school was also apologetic, so the manager suggested booking a local coffee plantation tour on April 2nd to make up for it, led by a veteran guide named Feliciano. With no plans for April 2nd, Froon and Kremers decided to take a walk along the beautiful El Pianista Trail in Bukai. At that moment, neither Froon nor Kremers knew a tragedy was approaching. April 2nd, 2014 was a sunny day. The El Pianista Trail features beautiful slopes resembling piano keys, hence the name El Pianista. To conquer it, the girls had to walk over 8 kilometers, taking about 3 hours to reach the summit Mirador. Returning to the homestay would take the same route in around 3 hours as well. They chose lightweight clothing suitable for a day hike in the hot weather, which could reach up to 40 degrees Celsius. They also carried a digital camera to cell phones, passports, a few US dollars, a water bottle, and health insurance cards. Before setting off, they stopped by a local restaurant for lunch. Coincidentally, Froon and Kremers met two Dutch boys, also traveling in Panama. They happily had lunch together and shared these positive moments on social media. Around 11 a.m., Froon and Kremers took a local taxi to the start of the Pianista Trail. That evening, Miriam, the homestay owner, was concerned when the two girls did not return for dinner. Worried, Miriam and her family searched around but did not find them. They assumed that Froon and Kremers might have gone out with the two fellow Dutch travelers. Eventually, Miriam decided to wait until morning, believing that the girls would remember their appointment for the coffee plantation tour. On the morning of April 2nd, the guide Feliciano arrived at the homestay to prepare for the scheduled coffee plantation tour. At that point, Miriam began to feel that something was wrong. A fearful thought crossed her mind, and she immediately called the police. However, for some unknown reason, it wasn't until April 3rd that the authorities began the search. Panama's National Civil Protection System, SINAPRAC, conducted a search for more than 3 days without finding any trace of the young girls. As a result, the Panamanian government decided to launch a large-scale search and rescue operation. The news of Froon and Kremers' disappearance was promptly conveyed to their families. The Dutch government also sent representatives to Panama to cooperate in the investigation and search efforts. President of Panama, Ricardo Martinelli, made a live TV appearance to reassure the public and the families that Panama was doing everything possible to find the two girls. However, despite these reassurances, the parents of Froon and Kremers were struggling to stay calm as they waited for news. On April 6, 2014, Froon and Kremers' families took it upon themselves to hire a helicopter search service to look for their daughters. Additionally, the school where Froon and Kremers had registered for volunteer work in Bukai offered a $2,500 reward to anyone who found them. During the search, the families and rescue team faced great difficulties from the weather as the rainy season began in Bukai. Slippery, muddy terrain and dense forest with cliffs and steep slopes made the search more dangerous than ever. The rescue agency's director stated that his team had searched extensively through 25 different forest trails without finding any evidence of Froon and Kremers. He felt that the girls were not lost and that something more serious might have happened. Panamanian authorities began to notice something unusual, as even in such a large search area, at least some clues or evidence should have been found. Unless the two female tourists deliberately fled or hid, but surely they had no reason to behave strangely like that. Eventually, due to the prolonged period of disappearance more than 10 weeks, the Special Task Force decided to switch to a criminal investigation instead of a missing persons case. Shortly after issuing a broad investigation notice, the police unexpectedly received a report from a woman about a trace of Froon. On June 14, 2014, a local woman went to the Bukai police station and handed in a blue backpack that she found along a rice field near the Serpian River, close to Alto Romero village where she lived. Upon examination, police confirmed the backpack belonged to Froon. Inside, there were 2 pairs of glasses, Froon's passport, an empty water bottle, 2 brass, $83, a Canon digital camera, and 2 mobile phones belonging to the girls. The investigation began with a call history of Froon and Kremers. There were up to 77 emergency calls made, but only 2 connected for a few seconds before losing signal. The first call occurred just a few hours after they began their short hike, made from Kremers' iPhone 4 at 4:39 p.m., calling the Dutch emergency number, which, when traveling internationally, redirects to local emergency services. About 10 minutes later, the second emergency call was made. Froon used her Samsung Galaxy S3 to call at 4:51 p.m., but unfortunately, both calls failed to connect. They then turned off their phones for the next 14 hours. In the following days, the 2 girls continued to dial 112 and 911 in vain as there was no signal in the forest. On April 4, 2014, as the battery began to drain, their phones were only turned on to search for a signal. From April 5th to 11th, the iPhone was turned on multiple times, but it seemed the user could not, or incorrectly, enter the PIN, leading to unsuccessful unlock attempts. The suspicion arose as to why Kremers would incorrectly enter her phone's PIN, or, in other words, was it Froon trying to unlock her friend's phone? More frightening and haunting were the photos police found on Froon's Canon digital camera. These photos captured the final moments of the two girls on the El Pianista Trail. On April 1st, 2014, the images showed them following the trail, happily taking photos as they climbed the summit. Everything seemed normal until the subsequent photos revealed that they had crossed the mountain peak and entered the desolate area between Costa Rica and Panama. Especially horrifying was that on April 8, 2014, up to 90 photos were taken between 1 o'clock and 4 a.m. during a pitch-dark night. In one photo, Kremers' hair is clearly visible, and at her temple, a red liquid resembling blood is oozing out. Other photos captured mysterious objects, such as a red plastic bag dangling from a broken branch, a backpack strap, and a small mirror. Many photos simply show a shroud of darkness or mist-covered canyons shot in the dead of night. Most of these photos were taken with flash, unclear, and more confusing than providing any specific clues. Many theories have been proposed about the purpose of these photos. Some believe they may have used the camera flash to guide their way, signal for rescue, or scare off wild animals. Others suggest that someone was deliberately taking these photos to conceal or mislead information. Another particularly notable detail is that photo number 0509 was deleted, raising further suspicion and mystery about what really happened at that moment. The girl's backpack, after 10 weeks in the jungle, was found intact with its contents still inside, causing confusion. Even stranger, the police discovered 30 different fingerprints on the backpack. But since the Panamanian police did not store prior fingerprint records, the comparison and tracing of these prints were neglected, further complicating the case. After receiving the investigation results, Froon and Kremers' parents decided to increase the reward to $30,000, as they suspected their daughters had been harmed by someone or a group. It's unimaginable that two young, weak girls were trapped in the jungle for a week without food. The surrounding darkness and the sounds of wild animals must have been terrifying. There could have been confusion, panic, or even despair as each day passed, surrounded by the jungle and dangerous animals. At that time, all who cared for and loved Froon and Kremers kept praying, hoping for a miracle. 2 months later, just when everything was still at a standstill and all search efforts seemed futile, Froon and Kremers' parents received a fateful phone call from the Panamanian police. The voice on the other end of the line plunged them into despair. Just days after finding Froon's backpack, the Panamanian police conducted new searches along the river. 2 months after the incident, a representative from Panama's National Civil Protection System, SINAP, made an important announcement. Part of the girls' remains had been found. The person who discovered the remains was none other than a local tour guide who found them near the Rio Calabria area. Strangely, this guide was the same one who was supposed to take them on a coffee plantation tour on April 2nd, the day the two girls disappeared. This information shocked everyone. When Froon and Kremers' parents received the tragic news, they were in such disbelief that they couldn't accept the horrifying reality before them. As the truth of what happened slowly emerged, it only deepened the wound in the hearts of parents, desperately holding on to the faint hope that their children might still be alive. The unimaginable pain of such an irreversible loss overwhelmed them. The forensic examination revealed that half of a pelvic bone belonged to Kremers, while a foot, found inside a hiking boot with disintegrated bones, belonged to Froon. Additionally, 33 other bone fragments discovered along the riverbank also belonged to the two unfortunate girls. While Froon's bones were relatively intact, Kremers' bones were strangely white, as if bleached. If the bones had only been exposed to the elements, they shouldn't have had such an abnormal white hue, raising suspicions. This became more puzzling when considering that 10 Dutch scent dogs searched tirelessly for 9 days but found no trace. How could the guide, with just ordinary sight and smell, find the remains so quickly? This raised questions about the transparency of the investigation. Despite objections and doubts from the public, Panamanian prosecutors officially declared that Fran and Kremers had gotten lost in the jungle, accidentally fallen into the river, and suffered fatal injuries from being hit by rocks. Was there a mistake in the investigation? With this declaration, the case was officially closed. However, the victims' families and the Dutch government completely rejected this conclusion. They were shocked and outraged, believing there were too many unresolved issues, from witness testimonies to physical evidence. The methods used by Panamanian forensic experts in handling the remains were also unreliable. For this reason, Kremers' family hired a Panamanian lawyer to file a complaint with the government, completely rejecting the prosecutor's investigation and conclusions. This incident sparked a wave of international media attention, dividing public opinion. One side agreed with the Panamanian government's conclusion, believing the girls had tragically died in an accident in the jungle. The other side felt the investigation was too superficial, with many unresolved questions left unanswered. This made the case a major mystery, leaving the families of the victims in unrelenting pain. In the complaint, the victim's lawyer, Kris Kremers, listed points against the investigators, accusing them of mishandling forensic evidence and ignoring certain clues, implying a weak and careless investigation. First, we need to analyze the strange behavior of those involved, which was ignored by the Panamanian police. The first key witness was a taxi driver named Leonardo Mustino. He claimed to have driven Froon and Kremers to the start of the El Pianista trail at 1:40 p.m. However, this directly contradicted the police investigation, which stated the girls took their first photos on the trail at 12:03 p.m., nearly 2 hours earlier. This time difference raises many unanswered questions. Was there a mistake in the police investigation? Or was the taxi driver's testimony flawed? Could the girls' camera clock have been set incorrectly? Or did the taxi driver remember the time wrong? Or is there an undisclosed truth that makes the entire story even more unclear? Second, locales near the start of the El Pianista trail stated they met and spoke with Froon and Kremers that day. Residents warned the girls about the dangers of exploring the trail alone and advised them to hire a local guide for safety. However, according to their testimony, Froon and Kremers reassured them that they had received instructions from a guide named Feliciano and felt everything would be fine. If this statement from the girls was true, it raises a major question. Why didn't Panamanian police focus their investigation and expand the search on the El Pianista trail earlier? The fact that the girls had received instructions from a professional guide should have been an important lead, as it indicates they were somewhat prepared for their trip. However, the initial search process seemed to overlook this area, making the explanation of the disappearance and the subsequent tragedy even more confusing. This caused public doubt about the police's approach and search strategy, raising questions about the thoroughness and accuracy of the investigation. Third, another notable detail concerns Ellen, who was in charge of the school where Fran and Kremers planned to volunteer, along with Feliciano, the would-be tour guide. Both claimed that when they couldn't reach the girls, they decided to go to the homestay team, where Fran and Kremers were staying. Surprisingly, the host, Miriam, allowed them to enter the girls' room and stay there for 30 minutes, unsupervised. This led to many suspicions, as no one knew what Ellen and Feliciano did in Fran and Kremers' room during that time. Did they search the belongings, or look for something specific, or could they have destroyed important evidence related to the girls' disappearance? Even more strange, the police took no further action to investigate Ellen and Feliciano's behavior and true intentions during this critical time. What might have been missed during this mysterious period? Could some evidence have been erased or altered, leaving us with questions that may never be answered? Fourth, Feliciano was the one who discovered the girls' remains in the forest, something that even the trained dogs and rescue teams couldn't accomplish. Why was he able to find what others couldn't? Moreover, he owned a coffee farm located in the middle of the forest, so it's not surprising if the girls were invited there for a visit. But what happened after that is anyone's guess. Furthermore, it should be noted that he had previously been described by a female tourist as having inappropriate intentions towards her body, which only adds to the suspicion. Next, photo number 0509 on Fran's Canon camera had been deliberately deleted by special computer software. The software had no option for data recovery like regular programs do. A question arises, did those who support Panama's conclusion really put themselves in Froon and Kremers' shoes? If you were lost in the forest for 7 days, would you spend time deleting photos you didn't like? Additionally, there are bolder theories suggesting that the camera may have been tampered with while in police custody. This is especially significant because photo 0509 is the missing link between the last normal photo and the first nighttime photo. Photo 0509, or something in it, may have contained critical evidence related to a crime. If true, it would have severe implications for Panama's local tourism industry, raising concerns about safety and the area's reputation. After all, the ongoing controversies, many years have passed, but the critical questions remain unanswered. What really happened to them on the El Pianista Trail? Was it an accident, or was there a criminal element involved? The international community, especially Kremers and Froon's loved ones, continue to hope that one day the truth will be revealed, bringing justice and closure. However, until now, their disappearance remains one of the biggest mysteries, reminding us of the inherent risks in life. This truly makes us more cautious, never to be complacent in any situation. Life is full of surprises, and the worst factors can come upon us without warning. Therefore, this story serves not only as a reminder of personal safety, but also as a lesson in always being vigilant and prepared for the unexpected.